I'm going to film another little rant video here. I'm going to keep it short, and I'm not going to make a habit of this because I don't want to make this into a rant channel. I don't mean one of those guys who just sits around and bitches all the time. We got enough of those. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, but that's just not what I want to be as far as my channel goes. But I do want to say this because I've kind of stuck on this topic lately, and that is the quality of modern guns. I'm always hearing these people and people going on about, oh, well, guns these days, they ship the bad shipment of guns, so guns suck. Well, you know, that happened all the time in the past. It happened all the time. The difference is you didn't hear about it. It's what I like to call the CNN factor. People today think, oh, there's more murders, there's more violent crimes, there's more rapes than there ever was before. But in reality, there's far less than there ever were. You're living in the safest times statistically since recorded history. But because you hear about every little thing that happens in every little town, you have this false perception that it is a more violent society, when it's not. It's safer. There's less violent crime. When you look at what happened back in the 40s and the 50s, there were lynchings and mob killings and things on a much more common basis than there are today. So it's all about perception. You deal with this whole mentality of a lot of people of, oh, the good old days, you know, yeah, the good old days when we all got rickets and we ate cabbage 3 meals a day and we all died in our 50s of a horrible, painful disease. Yeah, those are the good old days. People seem to forget that. They just remember that emotional nostalgia that they had, and they forget the reality of the situation. And today, guns are being made of high quality. Now, granted, there are being more models being made that have these growing pains, and that's part of the system, as I've discussed in other videos. But as far as quality, the guns today are great. When I was younger, my grandmother was an old shooter, and she used to make it very clear to me that when you put the first couple of rounds through a gun, you look away. Because you don't want a cylinder exploding on you, you don't want a forcing cone throwing metal shavings back in your hot lead back in your face, and it happened all the time. You just wanted to make sure you had a good gun first before you started trusting it. Nowadays people expect things to be perfect right off the bat, and generally they are. But you know, I have seen cases on the internet where people repeat the same story under different screen names on different forums to the point where there are 30 or 40 reportings of an incident with a gun from the same person pretending to be different people. And I've called people on that before. I've actually caught certain people doing that. Anyone who's followed me on the internet forums before has seen me probably call people out on that and discuss that before. So then you get those 30 or 40 posts of someone who had one issue, real or created, and then you have a multitude of other people who repeat those stories as if they're gospel. And then you have that CNN effect. You're seeing every problem that's ever reported, and you're seeing it multiple times. You're seeing the same story repeated again and again and again, just like on CNN. So you start to think, wow, this must be happening a lot. And that's the biggest problem that gun manufacturers face today. In fact, that's the biggest problem any manufacturers today. I had one person say to me, well, yeah, but you see SIG getting lots of complaints and you don't see these other smaller, more obscure places getting bad reports. Well, that's true. I mean, I've made bad reports on some of those before myself, but they're not even in the perception range of most people. So you can't compare them to a major manufacturer like SIG as far as complaints. Now, if I was to go over to Germany or Britain and choose a small little shed-style production company that produces automobiles, they might produce the shittiest car in the world. But you're not going to see a lot of complaints about it because most people don't even know they exist and most people don't own one. And the people who do own one bought it for a very specific reason and they accept the flaws. So comparing the two is just different. So that's my big thing. There's not really that big of a difference nowadays in quality other than I think that it's better. Now there is differences in opinions and differences in tastes, and there is the false perception that it happens more often because you see it. Now if your friend in Toledo gets a bad MK3 and you live in California and you've never met this guy, but you know him online and you see that he has that problem. Before you would have never known he had a problem. You would have never even known he existed. So that's the biggest problem with quality today. Now you're occasionally going to see quality control issues, just like you have throughout history. There have been accounts through history of gun manufacturers sending guns to the military or states or police departments and having to have those guns sent back, retooled, fixed, and sent back. It's just nothing new. You just hear about it now. Like now, if SIG sends a bad product to the Norwegian army or something, you'll hear about it if they're bad and they have to be retooled. But 30 years ago, if Smith & Wesson sent 3,000 bad revolvers to the police department, well, you didn't hear about it. So that's the big difference. And I would just love it if people would keep remembering that.